Emma had always loved community celebrations, the kind where everyone came together, where music, food, and laughter filled the air. It reminded her of a time when life felt simple, warm, and full of love. But this year, the celebration carried a different weight. She went alone. The last time she had attended, her husband, Mark, has been by her side, his hand in hers, both smiling under the string lights. That memory was now 2 years old. A memory frozen before illness took him away and left her world quieter than she ever imagined as she drove home that night. The faint echo of laughter still lingered in her ears, but the feeling of joy faded the closer she got to her house. The headlights washed over the driveway, revealing Daniel's old bike leaning against the porch. Her son, now 17, had grown up so fast that sometimes she didn't recognize him. She parked the car, sat for a moment in silence, and took a deep breath. The night outside was peaceful, but inside her heart, it felt heavy. The house greeted her with the same stillness it always did. She slipped off her heels and placed her purse on the counter. The faint glow of the television flickered from the living room. Daniel was still awake. That didn't surprise her. He had become a night owl lately, quiet and thoughtful, spending most of his time with headphones on or staring at his phone. Emma tried to understand, but motherhood after loss came with questions she didn't always know how to answer. "Hey, sweetheart," she called softly, walking toward him. Daniel turned slightly on the couch, his brown hair falling across his forehead. "Hey, Mom, you're back late." She smiled gently. "Yeah, the celebration went longer than I thought. You missed out. Mrs. Jenkins made her famous pies." He gave a small grin. "You know, I'm not into those events." "I know," she said, sitting beside him. "But you used to love them. Remember when you and your dad tried to beat everyone in the sack race?" Daniel's expression flickered, a mix of fondness and something else, something heavier. He nodded but didn't speak. Emma noticed the change. His shoulders were tense, his fingers restless. She reached for the remote and muted the TV. "You okay, honey?" Daniel hesitated. "Yeah, just tired." Emma studied him. She had learned to read the spaces between his words, the things he didn't say. "You sure?" He sighed, his voice low. "Actually, there's something I need to tell you." Her heart skipped. "What is it?" He stood, walked over to the shelf, and picked up a small wooden box, Mark's old keepsake box. It had sat untouched for years, filled with letters, photos, and mementos from their life together. "I found this earlier," Daniel said quietly. "I was looking for that old photo album Grandma gave us. But this," he held up an envelope, "fell out." Emma's pulse quickened. She recognized the handwriting instantly. Mark's neat, steady letters. She took it from Daniel carefully. The paper was yellowed with age, folded neatly, as if hidden long ago. "I wasn't trying to snoop," Daniel said quickly. "It just fell out. But I read a little of it. I didn't understand everything." Emma looked at him, her voice barely a whisper. "You read it?" "Just the first lines," he said, guilt in his eyes. "It said something about someone named Claire." The name hit Emma like a gust of cold wind. "Claire?" she repeated, her fingers tightening around the letter. "Who's Claire?" Daniel shook his head. "I don't know. I thought maybe you would." Emma stared at the envelope for a long moment. Her throat tightened. She had known Mark for more than 20 years, high school sweethearts who built a home, a life, and a son together. He had been her anchor, her safety. The idea that there was someone he never told her about felt impossible. She sat down on the couch, her hands trembling. "Daniel, thank you for showing me," she said softly. "You did the right thing." He nodded, uncertain. "I didn't mean to upset you." "You didn't?" she lied, forcing a small smile. "It's just surprising." He studied her for a moment, then gave her a hug. "I'll go to bed." "You should rest too, Mom." After he went upstairs, Emma sat alone in the living room. The silence felt heavier now, filled with memories and questions. The letter sat on the table, waiting. She stared at it for a long time, afraid to open it but unable to look away. Finally, she unfolded it. Mark's handwriting stared back at her. "If you're reading this, it means I couldn't tell you in person. There's something you deserve to know. Before you, there was someone else, a woman named Claire. We were young, and I thought I had moved on. But she reached out to me before I got sick." Emma stopped reading. Her stomach twisted. Every part of her wanted to stop there, to throw the letter away and pretend she hadn't seen it. But she couldn't. Her hands trembled as she read on. Mark's words painted a story of confusion, regret, and something unfinished. He wrote about how Claire had contacted him once more, years after they had parted. He said he had met her briefly only to find closure, he claimed, and that he had never told Emma because he didn't want to hurt her. Tears welled in Emma's eyes. She could almost hear his voice, calm and gentle, the way he used to reassure her when things got hard. But now those same words felt different, heavier, uncertain. She wasn't sure if she believed everything he wrote. She closed the letter and pressed it against her chest. The ache that had once come from grief now mixed with confusion. It was like losing him all over again, but this time to a truth she hadn't asked for. Outside, the night was quiet. The moonlight filtered through the window, casting soft shadows on the floor. Emma wiped her tears, stood up, and walked upstairs. She stopped by Daniel's room. The door was slightly open, and she could see him sleeping peacefully. His face calm, unaware of the storm she felt brewing inside. "Your father loved us," she whispered. "He wasn't perfect, but he loved us." She turned off the hallway light and went to her bedroom. The letter lay on the nightstand beside her as she lay down, staring at the ceiling. Sleep didn't come easily. Her mind was spinning memories of their early days together, the nights they stayed up dreaming about their future, the laughter that used to fill their kitchen. Who was Claire? What did she mean to him? Was there more he hadn't told her? By morning, the ache in her chest had only deepened. As she brewed her coffee, she noticed something strange. Another envelope tucked behind the original letter, hidden in the same box. Her fingers froze around it. It had her name on it, written in Mark's hand, but this one was sealed. Her heart raced. The first letter had broken something inside her, but this second one might explain everything. Emma took a deep breath, sat at the table, and carefully opened it. The words inside were shorter this time. "But more haunting. Double quotes, Emma. If you find this, please forgive me. I didn't mean for it to reach you this way. I never stopped loving you. What I did to protect you from pain. But if you ever meet Claire, tell her I kept my promise." Emma froze. Meet Claire. She felt a chill run through her body. Who was this woman? Why would she ever meet her? And what promise was Mark talking about? Just then, Daniel came downstairs, sleepy-eyed. "Morning, Mom. You okay?" Emma hid the letter behind her coffee cup. "Yeah," she said softly. "Just thinking." But she wasn't fine. She was shaken to her core. She couldn't tell her son yet, not until she understood what all this meant. But one thing was clear. The truth wasn't finished revealing itself as Daniel grabbed his breakfast. Emma glanced out the window. The mail truck had just stopped by their house. Through the glass, she saw the mailman place a small brown envelope in the box. She walked out to get it, trying to clear her head, but when she looked at the return address, her heart stopped. The name written on the envelope was Claire Anderson, and just like that, Emma realized this was only the beginning. Emma stood in her kitchen staring at the brown envelope as if it might disappear. Her heart raced, her fingers trembling. Claire Anderson. The name that had haunted her since reading Mark's letter was now on something real, something sent directly to her. For a moment, she thought it had to be a mistake. But her name was written clearly on the front in careful, elegant handwriting. She brought the envelope inside, her coffee forgotten, and sat at the kitchen table. The morning light streamed through the window, touching the edges of the paper. Her mind spun in 1,000 directions. Who was Claire? Why was she writing now? After all these years, after Mark's death, why send something now? Her instinct told her not to open it, not yet. But another part of her, the one that had been restless since finding the first letter, needed to know the truth. She slowly tore the seal open and unfolded the letter. "Dear Emma," it began. "If this letter has reached you, then it means Mark's gone, and there are things I can no longer keep to myself. You deserve to know who I am and what your husband did for me." Emma's breath caught. The handwriting was graceful but shaky, the words written with care. She kept reading. "Mark and I knew each other long before you two met. We were young, foolish, and life took us in different directions. But years later, when I was struggling, truly struggling, he helped me. He didn't tell you, and I understand why. He did it out of love for you, not betrayal. Please, if you can, meet me. There's something you need to see." At the bottom was an address and a phone number. No details, no explanations, just a quiet invitation. Emma sat back, stunned. Her heart pounded in her chest. The house felt suddenly too quiet. She read the letter again, searching for hidden meanings. What did he help me mean? And what could Claire possibly have that Emma needed to see? Daniel came down the stairs a few minutes later, his backpack slung over his shoulder. "Hey, Mom," he said, half asleep. "You look weird. Everything okay?" Emma quickly folded the letter. "Yeah, just reading something from your dad's old box." Daniel frowned. "You're still looking into that?" "I just found another letter," she said softly. He hesitated. "Is it bad?" "I don't know yet," she admitted. "But it's confusing." Daniel gave her a quick hug. "You always told me the truth finds its way out, right?" She smiled faintly. "Yeah, I did." "Then maybe it's time it does," he said simply, before heading out for school. His words lingered long after he left. Emma sat at the table, staring at the letter for what felt like hours. She thought about calling the number, but decided she needed to clear her mind first. She couldn't walk into something emotional without being ready. So she spent the rest of the day cleaning, dusting old frames, folding laundry, and trying to calm the unease inside her chest. But by late afternoon, she found herself sitting in her car, the letter on the passenger seat beside her. The address wasn't far, a small town 2 hours away. She hadn't told anyone where she was going. She didn't even know what she expected to find. Closure, maybe, or answers that could help her let go of the pain. The drive was quiet, a hum of the road mixing with the sound of her thoughts. Every mile felt like stepping further into the unknown. When she finally arrived, she found herself in front of a small white cottage surrounded by tall trees. It looked peaceful, too peaceful for something so full of secrets. She parked, got out, and took a deep breath. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves as she walked up to the door. Before she could knock, the door opened. A woman stood there, older than Emma, maybe in her late 50s, with silver blonde hair and soft blue eyes that carried a quiet sadness. "You must be Emma," she said gently. Emma nodded, unsure of what to say. "I'm Claire." For a moment, the two women just stood there, the air thick with unspoken emotions. Then Claire stepped aside. "Come in. I've been expecting you." Emma followed her inside. The house smelled of lavender and old books. Photographs lined the walls, landscapes, people, a life that seemed full but distant. Claire motioned for her to sit in the living room. "Would you like some tea?" "No, thank you," Emma said softly. I need to understand. Who were you to my husband?" Claire sat across from her, folding her hands. "That's fair," she said. "You deserve that much." She paused before continuing. "Mark and I met in college. We were young and in love, but life pulled us apart. Years later, I reached out to him because I needed help. I was alone, raising a daughter after a bad marriage. I was struggling to make ends meet. Mark found out and offered to help quietly. He sent money, supported me when things were falling apart. But he didn't do it for romance or regret. He did it because he was kind, because he couldn't stand seeing someone suffer." Emma's chest tightened. "He never told me any of that." "I know," Claire said softly. "He didn't want to worry you. He said you had enough on your plate. He said you were his home." Tears stung Emma's eyes. But why the letters? Why all the secrecy? Claire reached for a small box on the table and opened it. Inside were more letters, all from Mark. Emma gasped softly. "He kept in touch." "Yes," Claire said, "but only once or twice a year. He never said anything inappropriate. Mostly, he'd ask about how I was doing, how my daughter was, and if I needed help. When he got sick, he sent me one final message to promise him something. Emma's eyes met hers. What promise? Claire's expression softened. To tell you everything, if he didn't get the chance. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The sound of a clock ticking filled the room. Emma finally whispered. He carried this secret all his life. Yes, Claire said. Because he didn't want you to think he was unfaithful. He wasn't. He was. Trying to make peace with his past. Maybe he didn't handle it perfectly, but his heart was always with you. Emma felt tears sliding down her cheeks. The anger she had carried since reading that first letter began to fade, replaced by something gentler. Sorrow mixed with understanding, Claire reached out and gently placed a photograph in Emma's hands. It showed a young woman, Claire's daughter, standing next to Mark, smiling, holding what looked like a high school diploma. He helped her through college, Claire said quietly. He wanted her to have a chance. That's all. Emma looked at the photo, her heart swelling with conflicting emotions. He never said a word. That's who he was, Claire said. Quiet, private, always protecting the people he loved, even when it hurt him. Emma took a deep breath. The ache in her chest shifted into something softer. Acceptance. Thank you for telling me, she said sincerely. I think I needed to hear this. Claire nodded. I'm glad you came. I didn't want to die with this on my conscience. They shared a long, quiet moment, two women bound by the same man. In different ways, when Emma finally stood to leave, Claire walked her to the door. The sun was setting, painting the sky in gold and pink. He loved you deeply, Emma, Claire said. Don't ever doubt that. I won't, Emma whispered. The drive home felt lighter somehow. The road stretched ahead, and for the first time in a long while, she didn't feel weighed down by what she didn't know. Instead, she felt grateful for closure, for understanding, for the truth that finally made sense. When she reached home, Daniel was in the kitchen eating cereal. He looked up as she walked in. So, he asked carefully, Did you find anything? Emma smiled faintly, tears still in her eyes. Yes, sweetheart, she said. I found out that your dad was even better than I thought. Daniel frowned slightly, curious, but she just ruffled his hair. I'll tell you everything tomorrow, she said softly. But tonight, let's just be thankful for him. That night, as Emma lay in bed, she held Mark's letters close to her heart. The grief was still there, but it no longer felt sharp. It was tender now, full of love, truth, and peace. She whispered into the dark, I forgive you, Mark, and thank you for loving me even in silence. Outside, the wind rustled the trees, and for a moment, she swore she could feel him there, not as a memory, but as a quiet promise that love, even when hidden, never truly fades. The next morning, sunlight poured softly through the curtains, brushing against Emma's face. She hadn't slept much, but for the first time in months, her thoughts were calm. The anger that had once filled her heart was gone, replaced by a quiet ache, the kind that comes with understanding. She had learned the truth about Mark and Claire, but something still didn't feel complete. There was a sense that one more piece of the puzzle was missing, as she sat at the kitchen table with her coffee. Daniel came in, holding his phone. Mom, he said carefully, I found something in Dad's old email account. Emma frowned. His email? How did you? It's been open on the computer in the study. I wasn't snooping, he said quickly, but one of the messages looked new. It was from someone named Anna Lewis. Emma froze. The name didn't ring a bell. What did it say? Daniel hesitated, reading from his phone. It said, I'm sorry I couldn't attend the service. Your father was a good man. He changed my life in ways you'll never know. Emma blinked, her stomach tightening. Did she say who she was? No, Daniel said. Just that she owed Dad everything. Emma's mind started spinning again. Another woman. Another secret. She wanted to believe Claire's story had closed everything. But the name Anna Lewis reopened every question she thought she had buried. Mom, Daniel said softly, you look pale. You don't have to dig again. Maybe this is just someone Dad helped. But Emma shook her head. No, Daniel, I need to know. If there's something else about your father's life I don't understand, I can't move on." Daniel sighed. "Then let me help this time. You don't have to do it alone." They spent the next few hours searching online. It didn't take long to find her. Anna Lewis, a woman in her mid-30s, living in Seattle. She ran a youth art foundation, according to the website. Emma clicked through the photos, her heart racing as she saw a picture of Anna standing next to Mark, smiling, holding a ribbon at a charity event. Emma stared at the screen, unable to breathe. "He knew her," she whispered. He really knew her. Daniel read the caption. This was from 5 years ago. The article says she started the foundation after a family friend helped her through college. He looked at his mom. "Do you think Dad was that friend?" Emma nodded slowly. "It sounds like him." There was an email address at the bottom of the page. Without thinking too long, she typed, "Hello, Anna. My name is Emma. I'm Mark's wife. I'd like to talk to you if you're open to it." She hit send before she could change her mind. That night, as she tucked herself in, her phone buzzed. It was a reply. "Dear Emma, I've been expecting your message. Please call me when you can. There's something I've been meaning to tell you." Emma stared at the message, her heart pounding. She glanced at the clock, 10:45 p.m. It was late, but she couldn't wait. She dialed the number. A soft voice answered. "Hello? Hi, this is Emma, Mark's wife." There was silence on the line for a moment before Anna spoke again. "I'm glad you called. I wasn't sure if I should reach out after the funeral." Emma swallowed. "How did you know him?" Anna took a deep breath. "Mark found me at a really dark time in my life. I was in college trying to study art but working 3 jobs. I was ready to quit. One day, I met him at a local gallery. He started asking about my work, about my dreams. When he learned I couldn't afford to finish school, he didn't lecture me. He helped me quietly. He paid my last year's tuition without ever asking for anything in return." Emma closed her eyes. That was so like Mark, quietly generous, always helping from the shadows. Anna continued, her voice breaking slightly. "I didn't even know who he really was until later. He told me he just wanted me to believe in myself again. He said, 'Sometimes giving hope to one person keeps your own heart alive.' I never forgot that." Da-da-da-da-da. Tears slid down Emma's cheeks as she listened. "He never told me," she whispered. "I think he didn't want to burden you," Anna said gently. "When I heard he was sick, I wanted to visit, but I didn't know how to reach you. I owe him everything, Emma. He made me who I am." They spoke for almost an hour. Anna told stories Emma had never heard, moments of quiet kindness, advice Mark had given her, letters he'd written encouraging her to keep painting. Every word painted a clearer picture of the man Emma thought she already knew, but now saw more completely than ever before. When they finally hung up, Emma sat in the quiet house, surrounded by memories. She realized Mark hadn't lived a secret life. He had lived a bigger one. He had spread kindness in places she never saw. And maybe that was his way of keeping love alive, not just for her, but for the world. Over the next few weeks, Emma stayed in touch with Anna and even met her in person. They met at a small art gallery where Anna's foundation was showcasing young artists. The moment Emma walked in, she saw a painting hanging in the center of the room, a soft landscape of a man standing on a pier, looking out at the sea. The plaque beneath it read, "For Mark, the man who saw light in broken things." Emma stood before it for a long time. The painting wasn't just beautiful, it felt like Mark, gentle, hopeful, quiet. Anna came up beside her. "He believed in people even when they didn't believe in themselves," she said. Emma smiled faintly. "He did that for me too, for the first time in years." Emma felt proud, not just as a wife who had lost a husband, but as someone who had shared her life with a man who made the world better in small, invisible ways. As the months passed, Emma found peace. She began volunteering at Anna's foundation, teaching children how to express their feelings through art. Daniel often joined, helping with small projects. Slowly, the weight that once sat in Emma's heart began to lift. One afternoon, while cleaning the attic, she found a small wooden box she hadn't noticed before. Inside were old photos, pictures of her, Mark, and Daniel, But beneath them was something else, a folded letter addressed to her. Written in Mark's handwriting, her hands trembled as she opened it. "My dearest Emma," it began. "If you're reading this, it means I couldn't tell you everything myself. I want you to know that every person I helped, every small act I did, was because of you. You taught me what love really means, not the loud kind, but the quiet one that stays when everything else fades. If I ever seemed distant, it wasn't because I stopped loving you. It was because I was trying to give a piece of what you gave me to others." Okay. Emma's tears fell onto the paper, blurring the ink. "Don't let the letters or stories make you doubt me. You are my home, my peace, my forever. Tell Daniel that kindness is never wasted, and love, real love, never dies. It just finds new ways to live." She held the letter to her chest, whispering through her tears, "I understand now, Mark. I really do." That night, she sat on the porch watching the stars. Daniel joined her, sitting quietly beside her. "You okay, Mom?" he asked. She nodded. "I think I finally am," he smiled. "You know, Dad would have loved to see you like this." "I think he does," she said softly. Daniel leaned back, looking up at the sky. "He really helped a lot of people, didn't he?" Emma nodded, her eyes shining. "Yes, but the person he helped most was me." They sat in silence, listening to the night sounds around them. The air was cool, peaceful. Somewhere deep inside, Emma felt Mark's presence, not as a ghost, not as a memory, but as something alive in the way the stars shone, the way Daniel laughed, the way her heart felt light again. She whispered into the breeze, "Thank you, my love, for everything." And in that quiet moment, she finally understood grief doesn't end when the tears stop. It ends when the love outgrows the pain.